Yo, everybody. Welcome to Off Panel, a weekly interview podcast about all things comics brought to you by Sketch.com. I'm your host, David Harper, and this week's guest is the writer of comics like AdventureMan and its current series, AdventureMan Family Tree at Image, a story in the just released From the World of Minor Threats, Welcome to Twilight #1 at Dark Horse Comics, and the upcoming Batman at DC Comics. It's Matt Fraction.
I don't have a white dogs and a collection of black shirts. I'm just covered with white dog hair.
If you probably can't see it, but most of all of my clothing is covered in cat hair. So we are opposite numbers, but also experiencing a similar plight. So it happens. How's Friday treating you so far?
Oh, fine. It's fine.
Has it been a working day or has it just been?
Yeah. You know, two kids, 5 dogs.
You have 5 dogs?
Well, I got 3, and then we take care of my father-in-law. He's got 2, so it's a lot of stuff. It's fine. It's good. I got pages I got to get done. I got shit happening tonight. It's all happening. It's all happening.
Is it kind of just a position where you work where you find time, basically?
Yeah. You know, it's the kind of go-to story I always tell is like I outlined the first issue of Hawkeye on the back of a receipt from a grocery store using my leg as a backing board as I was writing, because I was sitting with my kids in a car and they were neither of them nappers. And for whatever reason, this particular Saturday, they had both fallen asleep in their car seats.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife went in to do the grocery shopping and I stayed in the car with the kids because it was like they never slept. So like they're sleeping, we'll just leave them. And I just sat there. And so like the first issue of Hawkeye is outlined on the back of a fucking Fred Meyer receipt, because that was the window I had in the time to work. So it's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Find the windows, but I'm a little further. I think there's some yeah, it's working. It'll be a working weekend. It's always a working weekend.
Yeah.
Need a break.
I do feel like we kind of just answered this question to some degree, but when we were talking about tech things before we started recording and the curiosities of that world. And when I was doing research for this, I came across a Reddit post from about a year ago, because Google loves to just feed you Reddit posts these days as answers. And that post was titled, and I quote, "What happened to Matt Fraction?" It was a comic fan who was forlorn about your perceived disappearance from comics outside AdventureMan since 2020. I feel like we just answered part of it, and there are other obvious answers to this question, but I did think that would be a useful place to start. Matt, what happened to Matt Fraction?
Ran a TV, co-created and co-ran a TV show that ate up.
Yeah.
And sort of backed out of, a lot of comic stuff that I had planned because it was a massive undertaking, and I knew that. And like, if a writer doesn't write, an artist doesn't draw, and if the artist doesn't draw, the artist doesn't get paid. So, it was like 5 years, almost day to day, like almost exactly from when it was like 4 years from when they started the process with Legendary to when cameras rolled, and then another year to when we aired. So it was like 5 years all in getting the show up and on the air. And it just was like a ton of work. And with kids and family and everything else, it was like, I didn't want to have co-creators relying on me, and I didn't want to, and I remember like, I am that Bendis is made different than me, but I remember him telling me about like being on the set of Powers and writing Guardians scripts at Video Village, and I didn't want to do that, like I wanted to run a show, learn how to run a show and actually do it and be a part of it. So, yeah, it feels like, let's see, well, since 2020, that's unfair because I had
pandemic
I had stuff through 2022, really.
Yeah, there was November was in there too. You had
November. There's Wilson. There's always been AdventureMan. There's other, so that's unfair. But also, I've sat next to Brian at shows where people have come up to him and, with 300 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, like, I'm your biggest fan, and he's like, oh, that's so great, we have a brand new Powers series starting next year. And he's like, what? And the fan will say, what's Powers?
I mean, that is one of the interesting things about this is like you went to Comics Pro recently, and from what I understand, basically the crowd went wild when you showed up because you're writing Batman. And it's like kind of it was almost seemingly like, I don't want to say positioned as your return to comics, but I mean, AdventureMan has been happening the whole time. November has 4 volumes. You have, I mean, Jimmy Olsen, part of that was in that window too. So it's not like you've not been making comics. It's just you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting how the perception of a creator is shaped almost by their for hire work rather than their creator owned works to some degree.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the industry, right? Like it's part of the shape of the direct market.
Yeah.
Um, um, I had a book get canceled at Marvel, not because it not because it was losing money, but because it wasn't making enough money.
Mm,
And it's like, if I owned a book that sold those numbers, I wouldn't have to work at Marvel anymore.
right.
But I don't pay for 2 stories of a skyscraper in Manhattan and have 400 employees and overhead,
Right.
it's just that the metrics of scale and the economy are different, and exposure. So there's some people that go to stores that don't carry comics that aren't published by Marvel or DC, right? They would have no reason to know about anything else I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's fair that I the good news about work for hire is it's going to happen every 30 days, one way or the other. You can be on that train or off, but the other thing is when the kind of show got going, I got to a point where I was in development on 2 shows at the same time, and a lot of people that I was working with suddenly needed, like, all of them kind of on their own cycles. But it was a little bit like being behind a bunch of cars at a stoplight and everyone's turn signals synced up for a second,
Mm-hmm.
where suddenly everybody was hungry and ready for script. And it was like the first time in my life I had ever been like late.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it. I hated the feeling. So, there was a period of kind of digging myself out of that hole, and then going into the pandemic and shutdown, like I was writing sort of, everything I was writing was endings, right? Like the end of Jimmy Olsen, the end of Sex Criminals, the end of November. There was something else that I can't remember. But as sort of like, well, once I got all that stuff done and had started to kind of plan for what was going to come next, it became clear the show was going to happen. And it's like, all right, well, I'm certainly not going to commit to a monthly. There was a day, then at one point there was a moment we sort of like, there was a minute where Chip and I tried to figure out, when he took on Batman, if I could do detective. And it's just like, realistically, like, I'm not gonna commit to that, and I'm not gonna expect collaborators and partners and friends and these things we make up to be on the hook for me to write them scripts that I'm not gonna write.
Yeah. I mean, I've had Ed Brubaker on the podcast a number of times, and one of the things that he talks about is like the thing that keeps him going on deadlines is he's always got to make sure Sean is fed. He's got to make sure Sean's getting scripts because Sean's fast and Sean wants to keep drawing.
Yeah.
And I read that you were on set for Monarch Legacy of Monsters for 100 of 106 shooting days, like roughly speaking. And when you're on a glacier in the middle of nowhere, I don't even know where, I have no idea where the glacier was.
Mount Breckenridge, British Columbia.
Okay, Breckenridge, British Columbia. It's not necessarily easy to just hammer out a script for Terrier or something like that. Like it's a slightly different animal than what Brian was dealing with Powers, because Powers was probably shot like on a set that isn't in nature. And so it does seem like it would be like when I talked to Chip about Batman, he said he couldn't write other books because Batman is all encompassing. It's such a big deal. And you can't have multiple all-encompassing creative things in your life at the same time unless you just want to kill yourself with stress and work.
Yeah, but it's just like multitasking is a myth. Like, it's not. Yeah. You can't evenly distribute. Everything is diminished. Like, you tend to focus, and like these were 18, 20-hour days, 6-7 days a week. Like, it was just realistically, regardless of where we were, it was just like. And I was a very active hands-on. I was the writing producer that was on set most of the time, so like that means there's stuff to do. There's whether it's writing work, whether it's episodes that are coming, or things that are being shot, or hey, do you want the red one or the blue one? I mean, there's just a million. It's a great job for somebody with ADHD because you're never bored, but it's also like floodwater. It just takes all the time. I
And
want to, you know,
and sometimes you have to appear in scenes. Were you in 2 scenes?
just one.
Just one? It was in the background. You're on the phone, I want to say.
No, it's the back of my head. Uh,
Oh.
I'm just next to Kiersey Clemens in the office, just the back of my head.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
But
So,
there's a dude who looks like me in the way that any generic white dude with glasses looks like me.
mhm.
That I've seen people go, oh, I saw you on. I was like, that wasn't me. It's just a dude. Like people think I look like the guy from Sex Criminals until they see the guy that Sex Criminals was based on, and they're like, oh, okay. Like, we don't all look alike.
I imagine the experience of taking on Monarch kind of there's in an office life, there's the other jobs as assigned idea where it's like your job can encompass a lot of different things. I imagine that was a lot of it, was figuring out all the things you didn't know what to, you don't know what's going to entail. I do think that's the interesting thing though, is I don't know, you kind of mentioned this earlier. It's like, it's your first time doing something like this. I'm sure you wanted to commit to it and just learn as much as you could in the moment.
I'm a whole ass kind of person,
Yeah.
and you can't. I knew enough to know that you couldn't I could have sat in Video Village and attended to scripts and not paid attention, but I was also like, no, I want to do this, right? Especially like, hey, what if it never happens again? I don't want to think, oh gosh, I should have given it a shot. Like, I just did, yeah, and it was fun. It was fun, and like I said, like it's a great job for somebody with ADHD that was never bored. I slept like a baby every night. Like I got home to my shitty fucking Sutton Place hotel where everybody who makes TV in Vancouver stays, and shared an elevator with Elijah Wood. It was how I knew he was on Yellow Jackets. um, but like I would just get back to this shitty fucking apartment and pass out, and like, all right, my brain was like, and we're done, and out, and then wake up when the alarm gets up, and get up, get over to the studio, and get shooting again. It's like we were still in COVID. Like that was still like we had like that was how I know I was there for 100 days. Was my last the day we wrapped in Vancouver was my 100th COVID test. And you were not allowed on set. You were not allowed on the premises of the studios without taking a COVID test live, So I just knew because I broke off my hundo on our last day. But like we only lost a half day of shooting, and that was because there was a typhoon in Tokyo. And like when the rain is blowing at 45 miles an hour, completely parallel to the ground, like you can't shoot outside.
No.
Like Anna Sawai is mighty and Anna Sawai is strong and Anna Sawai is incredible, but Anna Sawai cannot sustain acting in gale force winds. Didn't want to be known as the show that killed Anna Sawai. So
no, I'm pretty sure that would be very much frowned upon. But do you
it's against
think
union rules?
It's against union rules? Oh, I didn't know that. You never know what you're going to find in union rules. Do you think? Obviously, you learned a lot about the experience of making a TV show because you'd never done that. But do you think the experience on the show changed how you write comics or how you view them at all?
No, no. I think it made me miss them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything about TV, like, yeah, no, it made me miss the experience. It made it, but it's an exchange. You know what I mean? Like it's exciting, and like in Canada, your home base where all the trucks are parked and all the stuff is, they call it the circus.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm going to go to the show. I'm going to circus. I'm running away. I'm joining the circus. Like it's great. Again, we're circus, right? And there's a million people. I showed up and we had 400. The day I got there, we had 400 people on the payroll, building on 3 stages. Like, I don't do my job. It's one thing when it's one thing if like Lieber goes hungry, that's on me. But like 400 people don't eat because the scripts aren't written. Like that was such a different. But like we had a styrofoam guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like we like artifact things out of styrofoam, and he could make it look like whatever you wanted. It was amazing, and it was just so it's much more social. It's a much more collaborative because there's dozens, if not hundreds, of craftspeople working on what they do. And it's amazing, and just a million things to learn and see, and fun stories, and there's trucks and lights and all that kind of, and so it's a more social gig, right? Which is easy now to, like, sitting in my, weird little hole, be like, I miss people, right?
Yeah.
But also, like, let's see, so I left the show in May. I left the show in this past May, and the first thing I wrote post Monarch for me was the Welcome to Twilight issue that just came out this week.
Yeah.
And it's what is it? It's March 14th. So that's what, like that's like 9 months to, from me writing a script to it now being published and out in the world, right? And we were, done months and months ago, but like in TV, like I said, we finished in November, and then the show started the following November.
Mm-hmm.
Like a year on top of a year of shooting, on top of a year of writing, on top of 2 years of development. It's just like, oh God, I just want this to come out. Just,
Yeah.
I want to think about something else, like that's so, there's exchanges and exchanges of energy for sure. And exchanges of experience. And also, like it's great to just make something up and do it. Like the expediency, like beyond the expediency, it's nice to not have to open everything up to committee. And when someone's paying hundreds of millions of dollars to make something, you're going to get notes, which are fine. But it's nice also then to just be like Pat and Jordan and Daniel, like, hey, here's what I'm going to do. It's Don Johnson, but he's got wings, and he falls in love with a mermaid. Like, okay, and they do it, right? Like there's something much more satisfying about, or satisfying in a different way, I guess.
Is that what you missed about comics? That kind of, I don't know if control is the right word, but
it's absolutely,
it's control.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And all of the kind of things that come with control, like there's the expediency and rapidity. And look, it works or it doesn't work. Like, it's down to us, right? It's not a committee, and it's, sure, yeah, absolutely. But just there's a turnover that I like in comics. I need a deadline. I like deadlines. Deadlines keep me moving, right? The pressure is satisfying. So, it was nice to just be like,
yeah,
stuff instead of, the same scene 12 times or whatever.
Right. I asked Terry, your adventure pal Terry, for perspective on how you work together. And this is what he said. It's a long quote, so apologies in advance, but Matt works with a looser plot as opposed to a tight script with me on AdventureMan. This allows me to add and subtract where I think it needs more or less, or especially to go with the things that I find appealing and I want to explore more. So with the next plot, Matt will then take those and expand in ways I hadn't thought of. I then go and expand off of that. There's no way we could have come up with that with so much of these things on our own. It's an extremely collaborative effort where we really build off of each other step by step. That's the thing that's interesting, because that's collaboration and control all in one package, and something you probably can't do in a massive thing like that. If you're just like, I'm going to go rogue on Monarch, they're going to be like, we got to find somebody else because this styrofoam guy needs stuff.
Or just the control is, there's nuance to the meaning of the word. I like collaborators. I don't like employees, right? So by control, if I wanted control, I would be a novelist. If I wanted to be God, I would just write a novel, and that would be that. So no, I want to collaborate, but it's there's a shorter. I don't have to. It's easier. Comics are more undiluted, in my experience, than television. But again, comics don't cost,
$100 million.
Yeah, exactly, an episode or whatever, right? It's pluses and minuses, but yeah, no. So I like that it's just everything's on an order of magnitude smaller, right? To all I had to do is make sure Pat and Jordan and Daniel and Mike were happy, and off went Minor Threats to Welcome to Twilight #1, right? All I have to do, and it's just AdventureMan is just me and Terry. Is Terry happy? Great. That's, So yeah, it's not that I want control, or the TB doesn't give you control or whatever, but it's just it's a much bigger boat and it moves much more slowly, and the boat does a lot of the work for you.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Kieran Gillen that put it to me like this once, but it was like the and yes of comics, where it's like you can just keep building off of each other.
Yeah, no, AdventureMan is absolutely this,
Yeah.
it, blurry. What? Yeah, yeah, and by design, and I write scripts all kinds of different ways, right? I can write a full script, and frequently do. All of Sex Criminals was a full script. The Iron Fist was a full script, and then when David and I started to work on Hawkeye, we talked about doing this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry and I worked on X-Men together, and it started as a full script, and then we were like, you know what, I want to try this way, and it's much more. It's not about control, but collaboration. And
Yeah.
wanting to, and it's interesting, like how it's not just like, well, I'm going to write a full script and then I'm going to get rid of the page numbers. Like, it's not. It really is a different. It's congruent, but it's a different muscle. Like
Mm-hmm.
pivoting halfway through requires a rethink that I find very difficult. Like no, I really need to know from the beginning, am I doing it in this mode or that mode? Because it's just too different. It's just too different for me to
Mm-hmm.
toggle back and forth. It's not like I can go back and forth easily.
What made that the right fit for Terry and you and for AdventureMan?
A part of the reason, we realized that during X-Men, it would be great if we could work together on something that didn't have a 28-day turnaround,
Yeah.
Um, and just knowing how skilled he is and what kind of a visual storyteller he was, but like I'm never going to outright his hand and his eye, and it's going to be stronger. And we had worked together enough that we had experimented, and sort of like Defenders was more of a plot style script to start to figure out how that works,
Mm-hmm.
and like, and it's I was certain that Mike Allred would want to work that way. He's so kind of enamored with Kirby. Like when we did FF together, I was like, oh, you're going to want to do this just like Stan and Jack did this. And he was like, no, I want a full script. I want you to tell me everything you want on the page, right? So I can just put my time and energy and thinking into drawing it. And some folks are different. It comes and goes. But I just knew that as a fan, I'm always like want to write the ultimate whatever Terry Dodson book, David Aja book, just as a fan of theirs, like what's the book I wish existed? And I knew that making that world, and I don't know. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. And I guess
Yeah.
and it might not have worked,
Terry seems to love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's great. I love it too. But it's a very different beast, and it takes me longer to write plot style than full script.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Is it just because it's
a
different?
Totally different fucking beast?
Yeah.
It's not. It's a totally different fucking beast. It's like I said, it's congruent, but Spanish isn't Italian.
Right.
It takes me longer, and it requires. I have. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird because it is a little counterintuitive. But again, it's not just writing a full script and taking the. I also don't write pages 1 through 4. They come home. Dr. Doom is in the kitchen. They fight. Like that's not how how that works, right? I think, but because it's writing so specifically for a specific collaborator, it's like writing a novel for one person.
Yeah.
How do I got to figure out?
I do like that. It kind of feels in a lot of ways that the entire project is aimed at Terry. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a very good way.
Oh yeah. 1000%. I don't give a shit about what anybody thinks about that book but Terry and Rachel.
Yeah.
The end. Like that's that like it's great that everything else is great.
Yeah.
Everything else is a marvelous blessing of good fortune, but none of it is intention. All of it is like, I just want to have fun with my pal Terry. Is Terry having fun? Great.
Yeah.
And every month I start every AdventureMan script, I think that's, oh my God, I'm out of juice. I'm out of ideas. This is a mess. What am I doing? Oh my God, I fucked it all up. I'm going to blow it. And then by the time I finish, every email is like, this is the most fun I've ever had writing a script. This is the most fun book I've ever written. Like, you know what I mean? I always start in a place of despair and come out completely thrilled and energized. And because it's Terry, and Terry's amazing.
Yeah. You did mention earlier, I think the idea, you said something like, I want to make sure Terry's happy. I have never, it's hard for me even to imagine unhappy Terry Dodson.
Satisfied, I think, is maybe a better word.
I know.
Oh,
Terry.
Yeah, no, he's absolutely like creatively happy and sad, and I can tell, and like it. Every issue is my favorite issue. Every issue is better than the last.
Yo, everybody, it's David Harper from Sketch and Off Panel, and I just want to take a quick break from this video to remind everyone to subscribe to the Sketch YouTube. There's new podcasts that go up every Monday. There's additional content coming down the way. And if you enjoy what I'm doing, make sure to subscribe because it makes a huge difference for the channel. Thanks for watching. I'm just going to explain AdventureMan really quick for listeners. Here's a quick rundown of what this image series from you, Terry Dodson, Rachel Dodson, Clayton Coles, and a band of others is all about. It's about a forgotten pulp superhero named AdventureMan, a single mother in Claire who remembers him and inherits his powers, roping her rather extended family, the city of New York, and others from the character's history back into an adventure of fiction, but also maybe not fiction, becoming a reality. It is great. Love the book. I do think it's interesting. Oh my God, I completely spaced what I was going to say after I was explaining what the actual idea of the book was. My bad. That was bad podcast host by me. But
No.
It's an interesting book because it feels like, I don't know, I'm not trying to make it seem like comics as a medium and specifically direct market comics are allergic to fun, because that might be an overstatement. But it feels like a book that is very heavily rooted in, what if we just made a fun book where we have fun doing it?
Yeah.
Does that feel like a wild oversimplification?
It sounds like, I don't think you're wrong. I think American superhero comics as a idiom routinely mistakes enormity for gravity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very limited niche. I tried to narrow that as, American superhero comics,
right,
in the specific, and yeah, no, I think it's certainly informing my Batman stuff. Like the first issue is no rain. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't rain in Gotham anymore. I can rain in everybody else's book. Not in mine. There's plenty of rainy Gotham out there. But like, and part of it was like, I wanted to write a thing for my kids. I wanted to write a thing that my kids could read, because when we started AdventureMan, it sort of been doing a bunch of stuff they couldn't.
Right.
At the time, and at this point, we've been working on it for like 10 years. But like, so part of it was wanting to work in a more sprawling age group,
Yeah.
and that brings with it certain requirements of and responsibilities. But yeah, no, I don't like comics with people crying. Like superhero comics with crying, I don't need anymore. And it's great when it's done well. And maybe it's just like I don't know how to do that well and don't have interest in doing that well. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's wanting to do something that had some kind of hope and optimism and imaginative charge, like the comics that made me fall in love with comics.
Yeah.
Which tended to not be dark, rainy, sad guy comics,
I mean, the first Batman comic, the first comic you read was what, Batman 316? And that was, I don't know. I haven't actually read it. Oh, you got it right there. And I imagine that is kind of more the vibe you're talking about, where it's like, I'm not trying to say this is like a nostalgia trip for you or something like that.
Yeah, no, not at all. No.
It's you.
It's a superhero comic. Like that's like it's a like Batman is a superhero comic. AdventureMan is a superhero comic, right? It's sort of different language and material, but like it's a conscious choice of like, look, people are going to either like it or hate. We're going to find out real fucking fast if.
Are you talking about Batman right now?
Oh, yeah. Like if people dig it, great, and if they don't, we're going to know like right away. Like if people are like, no, wait a minute, why is it raining? why is
There's a lot of sun in this scene, Matt? What's going on here?
Why is he clean shaven? I can see the sun in Gotham. What's going on? I'm like, all right, well, maybe that's not for us. And we'll know real quick. But no, like it was a conscious choice of like, I want to write a Batman book that makes people fall in love with comics the way Batman comics made me fall in love with comics.
Yeah.
And that means, not so much.
Well, I also, I made the allergic to fun comment. I do think that, and I don't think this is just a superhero comics thing. I think this can be a overall thing. There's a tendency of a flavor connecting and that flavor becoming all of the flavors to some degree.
Sure. That's why that's American superhero comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's monkey see, monkey do.
And I mean, it's interesting because you mentioned Hawkeye. Hawkeye, you didn't design it as counter programming, but I think it stood out because it was different. And I think sometimes people, especially when it comes to superhero comics, I mean, even probably for AdventureMan to some degree, where initially people are like, I don't know about this. This is different. But then eventually they realize they like different because they haven't had it in a while.
I mean, I don't, not to.
Feel free to disagree.
No, not to argue the point, but I mean, there was a sense of Hawkeye being counter programming in that,
like built into it,
huh?
Built into it.
Yeah. Well, just like literally in the pitch, it was like no, this is about what he does when he goes home on Thursday to do his laundry.
Right.
Like the whole point of it was this is regular. This is about the human on the Avengers. The guy without superpowers on the Avengers, which I think is a kind of counter programming. And at the time, I think he was in the Moon on Secret Avengers, and he was here and there and all these other places. I'm like, all right, but on Thursdays he's got to go home and do laundry, and that's when my book happens. So I think there is a kind of counter programming to that. And the sort of history of the book, like I pitched it and was going to do it, and then withdrew the pitch because I didn't have it, and then I figured it out and came back, but like. My pitch was what became the 4th and 5th issue, which would have been him as a kind of globe-trotting, would have been like a solo superhero book.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh wait, that's a story. That's not a book.
Yeah.
So I backed out, and then I backed back into it again. But so which I just want to I just don't want to make myself sound smart. Like I wasn't consciously. Oh, I'm going to. No, it wasn't. It was a kind of counter programming, just. By virtue of being standalone issues, right? Being done in one issues was a thing. So it wasn't so
craven and deliberate.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was lucky, but dumbass luck. Time and place and all that. The deliberate choice with AdventureMan, especially like after like Satellite Sam and Odyssey and like all these kind of and Sex Criminals kind of driving into its second act. It was like I need something that's fun. Not that those aren't. But they were challenges, but they weren't necessarily like fun rides all the time.
Right.
AdventureMan, it's like this month we're pirates. Next month we're, dogfighting. The month after that, everybody's ninjas. Like, that's great. I needed that energy.
It's not very often that I say this. I assume you write the solicits?
For AdventureMan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I can tell you are having fun with the book just because of the solicits. You feel like you're having fun writing the solicits, which is not a comment I make very often.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, sure. I don't ever see them how they. I know I fill the form out, but I don't know how they come out on the other end. So
they come out as try to phrase this, and I don't want to say you're like a carnival barker.
Oh no, it's okay. Then that's totally. Yeah, no, it's put on your Stan Lee hat and what's the bigger than the big and the biggest and how many exclamation points can one solicitation copy hold?
I support that. Okay, so we talked about AdventureMan, we talked about Batman, we talked about
Terry's the best. I love Terry. I will write for Terry the rest of my life if he will have me, and everything great about that book is him, and I love that people love it because I love it and I love him, and I'm just trying to write the ultimate Terry Dodson comic that as a guy who loves him as a fan wants to read. And I think he gets better every issue. And oh my God, buckle up. Family Tree is, I think, the three strongest issues we've ever done.
I very much enjoyed the horse action and ghost lights. There was definitely some. It's not very often you feel like an artist is enjoying drawing a horse, but Terry was drawing a horse. He made the most out of that. He made a meal out of that horse.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like I always ask, like, is there anything you don't want to draw? And every artist has a couple things that they don't want to draw. Terry has never said no to anything.
Do you? So,
or not even. I don't like drawing. Blah blah blah. Like it's anything goes.
So you're working on Batman with Jorge Jimenez, who's been on that book since literally before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk with him? I mean, do you communicate with him and try to figure out those things in the same way you would with Terry?
No, but we will as things go on. At this point, the first issue is entirely done. There might be a couple of lettering things yet that need nudging. There's a couple of design things that need nudging. He's almost done having drawn the second issue. I've written something like 8 or 9 scripts worth of material. Like I'm well ahead. Also, he's just a relentless machine, which will help. But we technically, so I was like through the at least 4th issue, if not the 5th issue, by the time he had kind of gotten through his run with Chip and come around to us. So even though I'm, there's an editorial retreat a while back, and at some point I had to stop talking because everyone was talking about what was going to happen in May, and I realized I was talking about May 2026. I was like, oh wait, you guys are talking about. Sorry, I was that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I was talking about 2027. They were talking about 2026. Whatever it was, I was a year ahead of everybody else. I was like, oh, I'm fucked up because I'm so far ahead. So we've really just started working together, but there's a lot of back and forth, and I'm still kind of learning how to write for him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I want to talk to everybody as much as they want.
Did you get any scouting reports from Chip on him?
Oh yeah, just that he's incredibly fast, incredibly talented, which I knew just as a fan, and incredibly handsome.
Very handsome.
Yeah. So I'm ready for that. I'm buckled up for that.
Somehow might be the most incredibly part of it, which is really astonishing. But Terry told me in advance of that news coming out, he didn't tell me that Batman was coming, but he said that like Matt's writing one of the biggest books in the market. And when he said that, if you gave me 100 guesses, I probably would not have come up with Batman. And it's not because I don't think you're capable. It's just I didn't expect that from you in the moment. And I was reading an interview you had done with Cole Haddon, where you were talking about actually like how you were writing scripts, basically, Marvel style, plot style, and about how it made your stomach hurt because how scary it was not knowing if you could do it, and how that was a good thing because it meant you were pushing yourself. Is that where Batman kind of comes from for you? Like the intestinal struggles of not knowing if you could still do a big superhero book like that?
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever thought I could do a big superhero book. But certainly, could I do this one? Could I do this, the thing that I see and the thoughts that I have, and could I do it? Would it be fun? Would I enjoy it? Would other people enjoy it? Yeah, no, I mean, it's a nerve-wracking for sure. And like, I don't want to make myself sound like a, babe in the woods. Like there is something Machiavellian is too loaded, but we'll say Machiavellian, but like for a marketplace that runs on Marvel and DC comics, it's been a while since I've been regular on the stands with Marvel and DC books. So it's like, if I'm gonna start doing more original material, this is a great way to reintroduce myself to the marketplace after, and on the count that I'm not on social media and I don't do a lot of shows. And, like I'm not I like to do my work and I like the work to speak for itself. And that's my kind of mode, right? I like staying at home. I like my kids. I like my life. I like my wife. I like my dogs, even though I hate my dogs. And so no, there's definitely people that are like, hey, if I'm going to do something, it would be nice. This is a great way to reintroduce myself to the marketplace and remind myself how it works. And yeah, and there is something feeling like playing for the Yankees, which I really haven't done like this, So that's kind of cool. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to figure it out. I mean, besides Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, which I'm going to put off to the side. Like I feel
Yeah,
It's a different species of a book in a lot of different ways.
10,000%.
It is the first time that you've written like I mean, I don't even know if you could say that about Hawkeye, but Hawkeye finished in 2015. And so it had been, I mean, it's going to be a decade since you'd written kind of a quote unquote proper main universe superhero book. Is there a learning curve? Not a learning curve, but like, are you having to figure that out again? Or is that just
Oh, but
like, it's old hat?
there's neither. It's always learning it all over again.
Yeah.
Every book is different. There's no, if I knew how to just do this and do it well and do it easily and make money, I would do that. Like, if I could just write hits, I'd write hits. But every book is its own journey, right? Every book is its own. Every book means throwing everything out and starting all over again and finding its language and its tone and how to do it. It could be Batman. It could be Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen too. It could be Hawkeye. It could be whatever name, a made up thing I just made up by me and an artist nobody's ever heard of, and it would be the same learning curve
Mm-hmm.
for me of going from zero to how I don't know how to do this to how do I do this, right? It would be the same thing, and I wish it was just a matter of sitting down and typing, and it never ever ever is. Every artist is different. Every story is different. Everything's different. I don't know how to like. I don't know. You know that LCD Sound System song you wanted to hit? Like, I don't really do hits.
Yeah.
Everything is, I got to reinvent the wheel every fucking time. And it's stupid and counterintuitive. But
Is that a true for your own stuff and for hire
oh,
stuff?
yeah, a million. Yeah, I guess that's you. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
And
mean,
like,
how do you reverse engineer sex criminals? You can't.
what do
I mean, like you can't. There's no way you went into sex criminals thinking you were making a hit. And no offense.
never. No, no, no. I didn't think Sex Criminals was going to last 5 issues. I thought we were going to get 3 issues and beg Eric to print a fourth and let us
Mhm.
put out a trade, and Chip and I would have a little book that we made that made us happy. I think you can see that first storyline wobble because we basically figured out halfway through the third issue, oh, we're going to be able to do this as long as we want.
Right.
And suddenly the story that was supposed to end has to keep going. So I think you can see it wobble as we were in production because we were just, yeah, no, there's never, it's just, it's luck. It's just dumb luck. I don't know. Like I said, if I could fucking write hits, I would. It'd be so much easier, you know? And I don't know, like, I don't want to like sound like I'm being denigrating to anybody with popular success. I am envious of that. Like, but if I could be James Tinian, I would. If I could sit down and just, oh, here's another thing. You know, I've written 8 new books and they're all fucking smashes. Like, I would totally do that.
Yeah.
I do not have that ability. Everything is difficult and slow and requires a learning curve. And if it works, it's luck. Like but it's there's a high margin of error,
Yeah.
you know. But I don't know. I can't type for applause, and I can't predict what people are going to like, and I don't know what's going to hit and what's going to work and what's not, or when or why. You know.
I'm probably going to put too much into this, but I think it's an interesting between 2009 like 2015, maybe like 2016. Image had a bunch of books that made it really big. Like Chew was 2009, and like that was kind of the low key, like the first of the vanguard. And then there was like Saga, and Walking Dead was obviously in there, and yada yada yada. But Sex Criminals was in there, Wicked and Divine was in there, Bitch Planet was in there, etc. And the interesting thing about that is I think you could probably point at every single one of those books and say none of those books look like surefire hits on the surface. They were all ideas that were interesting, that if they met the right people, they could become more, which they did. And I do wonder, like, again, I don't want to read too much into it, but I do wonder how often the idea of making hits based on previous hits is detrimental to the idea of finding something that's truly special. Because like I talked to Chip about it. It's like, he's like, I've written Batman. Nothing I ever do will ever be as big as Sex Criminals. And like, there's no way to reverse engineer something that builds a community like that.
No, it's once in a lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it is an interesting stretch, and I don't know, like not to think too much about comics as a global sphere, because it isn't necessarily, it's composed of a bunch of individuals. But I do sometimes wonder if there's like not enough thought about, again, not counter program, but just like doing what feels right and hoping other people find that rightness with you.
Yeah, I think that's all we can ever do. And, publishers have different goals than creators.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Image has ever not been interested in exactly that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Will the market support it right now? Yes or no, that's a different question, and like, but there's a million, I guess if I guess I thought about Brian K. Vaughan a little bit when he had kind of gone away to do Lost and
Under the Dome,
and like he kind of had, and then kind of, so there was a feeling when that was the thing that made me feel like there's at least precedent for something like this, that, oh wait, Brian went away and did TV and came back, and comics remembered who Brian was. Maybe comics will remember who, like, so that was definitely, I was conscious of that thought, that like there's a precedent that like you can go home again. Brian is proof of that. And unloading the deck by making it Batman. But also, like, I like I was never not working on Casanova when I was at Marvel.
right?
And I would get that thrown at me, like, when are you gonna do more Casanova? Like, I'm always doing Casanova.
Right.
When are people gonna buy it? Like, we've never made money on that book. I love it.
I don't know if this makes you feel better, but I bought it.
We have never made a fucking dime on that book. And like, I'm sorry, I have kids that need to, like, and that's the reality of like, we were never not doing it. It's just how much can you focus on it or whatever, right? So like, AdventureMan has never not been coming out. We've never not been working on it. It's just how frequently, it just doesn't happen with it's an annual sort of a thing. It's like a seasonal thing rather than a monthly ongoing or whatever. But Brian was certainly in my head thinking about that kind of moment. But also, like, so much is Chip and I could launch Sex Criminals now and it wouldn't be Sex Criminals.
Right. It was a moment.
It was the perfect example of this is like, nobody expected Fantastic Four and FF and Hawkeye to work. We didn't get any marketing. We didn't get any marketing support. I was the marketing department for Hawkeye, right? I printed postcards and buttons and made them, and went around for a summer slinging them around or whatever. Like it was not. So that FF and Hawkeye hit, like they hit at that moment, meant one thing. That Image was having their moment meant another. That Apple banned the second issue on a slow news day meant another. Like, that's my advice for every young creator. Get your book banned by iTunes. You cannot beat the return on investment.
I mean, it happened with Saga too.
We were on, but it happened to us first. Goddamn.
Sorry. I didn't mean to rob you of that.
But like, yeah, no, get banned by Apple. You'll be on CNN, you'll be on Wired, you'll be on CNET. Great. It was the biggest, and I remember that, like, that happened literally at a Marvel retreat. And we would,
you were there when it happened?
Yes. And Eric texted me at like 10:30 in the morning and like, they are telling us they don't have to tell us why they banned it. Like, let slip the dogs of war. And every time we would take a break, I would look at my phone and like do an interview, excuse myself and go do an interview for 10 minutes and come back. And by the end of the day, it was this insane thing that was happening entirely while I was, talking about Marvel shit or whatever. Walking home, like some really like editorial, someone on the publishing side was like, real sorry to hear about your book getting banned. I was like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to buy my kid a car when they turn 16. Like this is the biggest day of my like at Marvel Town. That's bad news. For me, it's like striking oil in your backyard. Like this is huge. Like this is we were already off like a rocket. This was like nitrous, right? That just sent it into, and like you could not manufacture that again.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
we were super, super fortunate and super, super lucky, and it was awesome. And also, there's the market's changed. There are people. I love saying this to TV people, but like starting this summer, the people that movie studios and TV studios are going to be hiring to be their interns will have grown up entirely without commercial television.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever want to see a room full of TV executives shit their pants, say that to them. because they have not realized the time scale. But at this point, literally the 18-year-olds who are going to work in Los Angeles this summer don't know what it's like to wait for a commercial break.
Yeah.
It's like, it's got to be like the first like ape with thumbs. Like, wait a minute, where'd you get those? What? You guys understand, like the meteor's coming, So like it's just the there's a whole generation of people that got tired of the direct market not making comics for them, so they made their own comics, and now it doesn't, they're taught classes at Portland State or whatever. There are people it never occurred to them to write Batman. I didn't make a Batman. Why would I want to write Batman? It's the craziest thing in the world to them. They grew up with Raina and Jeff Smith and Brian Lee O'Malley and manga, and it's never occurred to them that, I'm just going to make graphic novels, right? Yeah. It's never occurred to them that there was once upon a time a world where you couldn't buy graphic novels at Target.
One of my favorite random things that I learned from a kid was my friend's child was describing reading, and when he did it, instead of going like this for turning the page, he was swiping, and that was an enlightening moment, because there's like little things like that just completely emphasize how much the world has shifted and shifting, and all it took was a thumb movement.
Yeah, no, watch Stranger Things with Gen Alpha. You have to pause it every 5 minutes and explain that's a phone. Yeah. What's that big box on the floor? That's what television used to look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's anyway, but so there was a thing about this moment of people who, me and Kelly Sue both, like, our digital numbers were always kind of like, we always broke the bell curve.
Sure.
Because our readers were always people. We had a lot of readers that weren't necessarily every Wednesday direct market comic readers.
Are you talking about like for hire books in specific?
On everything.
Oh, on everything. Okay.
But the Korean stuff especially, but like on it's been true everywhere. Mm-hmm. Like, so in the moment when suddenly digital became a possibility, there are people that liked our stuff that were reading digitally that never would occur to them to go to the Android's dungeon or whatever, mm-hmm. Right? I don't know. You just get it on your thing and read it on my iPad. You read comics. I love comics. Look, I have an iPad full of them. Look at my comic collection. Oh, it's this huge iPad, right? So it's just again, it was a moment in time incredibly fortunate to have been around for.
It's funny you brought up Brian and his kind of return. I had the same thought about, it is a slightly different thing because you were still doing comics the whole time, but like that was one of the things that really struck me. Like I had Katie Pride on the podcast from Books with Pictures, just my most recent guest, and she was like, everyone was so stunned. She described it as like DC must have been carrying you around like Rihanna with like shrouded the entire weekend to like, or in the advance of it to make sure that no one saw you coming. And it was just like this stunning moment. And it's like, I'm not saying Saga wouldn't have been big without Brian taking that break, but I feel like there was like that anticipation built up.
Sure.
And I imagine that's going to be the case for you as well, because that audience, I mean, I heard from people in the room, they were just stunned in a good way.
Yeah, I'm glad, because I had thought DC was goofing around. I thought we were all just goofing around, and then yes, no, I was kind of sequestered, and I was like, oh shit, you guys are serious. And I just kept saying like, I hope this works like you think it's going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it did. That's awesome. But yeah, and I'm like, look, it's a stacked deck. It's Batman, and they're relaunching it. Mm-hmm. Like, let's be honest, that's gonna do well,
right?
At least for a month.
Well, and it's coming off of Hush, so it's gonna have kind of like that built up heat too. And it's like
that was the other thing, is we got that kind of rocket boost to those numbers, which are astronomical. So yeah, no, it's certainly a would Saga have worked? Maybe not. Would Brian coming back from TV to write Batman have worked? Absolutely.
Absolutely. Did you have to give it much thought when it came your way, the Batman offer?
No, not really. I was, Chip told me he was leaving, asked, and I had sort of just left Monarch, and he asked, did I want to do it? And I thought about it and would talk to Rob and Marie, and they said, if you have any Batman thoughts, let's talk. We'd be interested to hear. And it turned out I had Batman thoughts. But I think part of it was the function of having not done kind of anything but TV and TV writing and producing for so long that the chance to just like turn that off and come back to this like muscle group that I hadn't really used, I was just very excited.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like I had been consciously noodling away on a Batman idea, but it's clearly something I've been thinking about since I was 2 years old, and now I've fooled people into paying me for it.
Was your pitch just pretty much no rain and sunlight?
Yeah, not sunlight because he's the Dark Knight. You know, you need darkness.
Yeah.
But no, but it, it was character forward. Like it was all about Batman. Like my book's a two-hander. It's about Batman and Bruce. Like those are the two main characters in my book.
Yep.
And it started with that and went from there. And this kind of idea, like, you know, if you really wanted to kill Batman to stop Batman, you would make Bruce Wayne happy.
Oh.
And what does it look like when Bruce Wayne starts to heal? What happens to Bruce the first night he thinks, maybe I don't have to go out tonight? And sort of building out from there and looking at the last 20 years of Batman stuff and my own tastes and thoughts and opinions and all of the history of all of it. But it started very character forward of like trauma is a response. Trauma is a reaction. What if we make him an action?
Yeah.
What if Batman wasn't a reaction but an action? What if he stopped responding to trauma and started to heal? How does that build? What does that look like? And how do you still make it Batman? How does it still the coolest comic book character of all time?
Jorge's a good start.
Jorge helps.
Jorge helps.
It's a stacked deck.
It's a stacked deck. I did want to bring up one thing that I read in another interview. I read that you hate outlining with a fiery passion.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work with Batman?
Well, I hate like guidelines.
Sure.
I look, you're in Alaska, I'm in Portland. Let's say we're gonna drive to Orlando. If in a couple days' time we start seeing guys in sombreros, we've gone the wrong direction.
Yeah.
If in a couple of days from there we don't cross the Mississippi River, we're a little off base, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it starts getting colder instead of warmer, we're not heading there, right? Like I couldn't get from here to Orlando without a map. You know, by knowing, I know what the big parts are, but I don't want to write about the thing I want to write. I just want to write it. And outlines fail. People read outlines and give you notes on the outline as though it's the thing. It's not the thing. It's the thing about the thing.
Right.
And you're always going to fucking forget or lose. Like it's, I don't know what it is. I haven't written it yet.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I'm going to try and write. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go from here in a couple of days. I'm going to be in Florida. I don't know. I'm going to get there. I don't know. Maybe I stop in Iowa. Maybe I stop in Nebraska. The fuck's the difference?
Yeah.
What looks better at the moment? What's the right decision? Right. You don't know until you're into it. So I like, you know, I mean, I'm, you know, I like putting dots together. And I can tell you I'm going to go from here to there, but the reality is much more interesting. I'll give you all the dots, but don't ask. But how I get there is the writing. That's the excitement, right? That's the creative part. So yeah, and like TV, because again, it's an order of magnitude more expensive, and there's more people, and there's a lot of outlining in TV. And it's, you know, I remember I was on Goyer's, the show that Goyer brought me in on. You know, I left that room with a full outline for this episode, and they're like, "Do you think you can get this in like, you know, like maybe like 8 weeks? You think we can get a turnaround on like or whatever it was? You know, you think 8 weeks until we can get a script out of you?" I'm like, "Guys, I'm gonna have this done on the flight home. Like this is just typing at this point. Like it's outlined, it's done. Now I just have to type it."
Yeah. You know? I'm sorry that I keep bringing Saga into this, but
please, it's a great book.
I remember talking to Brian and Fiona about it, where Goose, the adorable little seal guy who I'm perpetually worried about, that was not going to be a major character. That was not going to be an important character whatsoever. But Brian saw what Fiona did and was like, I'm taking a turn towards Mexico. Is that part of the reason why outlining? Yeah, you got to respond. Yeah.
All of the characters in AdventureMan changed when Terry drew them.
Yep.
You know,
I
said I want to, I want to respond to the collaborator. You know, and like I get that it's a pain in the ass for my ever patient editors and letterers, but like I can imagine an awful fucking lot, but it's not going to be the thing.
Yeah.
And I would rather, it's my job to make this book as good as possible. And sometimes that means changing it once art comes in
Mm-hmm.
because I can do it better. The artist was better than I imagined. I can get rid of these words. I can show more art. Like, I get that it's a pain in the ass. That's also what the fucking money's for. I'm like, we're all here to make the best things possible as long as they'll let us. So like I love writing with an eraser. Once art comes in, I can do the best I can, but once it's all together and you can see it and read it and experience it, it's going to change things. And we should, it's, I think, incumbent on us to make the best product possible. And that means constantly adjusting, so yeah, no, absolutely. And that means just responding. You can, and Seal didn't show, or the Seal guy, Goose, didn't show up for a while.
Yeah, it was like issue 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there.
It's not like Brian and Fiona didn't know what it was like to work together at that point.
Right.
You got, it's a healthy creative relationship that when it keeps surprising you,
You talked to Jorge a bit. Did you, I mean, it is interesting. We're in an era where people don't stay on books artists in particular don't stay in books for very long.
Jorge's a rare beast.
He's a rare, you mentioned he's a productive beast too, and that is
a very handsome beast.
A very handsome beast. All of it's just unbelievable. Every time I talk about Jorge, it ends up just being extremely complimentary, probably in a way it's uncomfortable for him. But you
let him suffer a little bit?
That's finally.
Let him have a flaw. And beautiful crystal tear coming down
his. He probably looks
the vast expanse of his perfect skin. I'm sorry, what?
He probably looks so handsome when he's crying. Did you talk to him at all about what he still wants to do with the character after being on the book for so long? You did?
Yeah. But it was...
You weren't taking requests.
Yeah. But the good news was we were on very similar pages. That they sent him what I had kind of my proposal thing, and like I say, I don't like outlines. So like I wrote like a fucking 30-page, like literally 30 pages of like stuff, like just to kind of articulate all my thoughts or whatever, just what all the dots were on the board, necessarily not necessary, but yeah, no. And Jorge was in a very similar place and was very excited by it, which was great, which was super cool and gratifying, and I'm sure a lot of my thought came from just enjoying the book he and Chip had been doing. I think kind of the biggest bummer of Chip's run is that it was all putting all of the different pieces on the board from like the last 2 decades of that comic. And once he sort of got them all back on the board, he took, he's done, like he didn't get a chance to play with the whole team or whatever, as it were. So part of it was, I think, just reading the book and responding to the book as I was seeing it and kind of knowing where Chip was going with it. But yeah, no, we were very simpatico very quickly.
I mean, his first cover, I just looked at this recently, was on a James Tynion issue, and it was Batman and Catwoman standing on top of a building while it was raining in darkness. So it's kind of like, I don't know, he's been on a journey from, I don't want to say dark to light. It's not dark to light, but it's like,
no,
give him a tonal change.
I don't want to overstate. It's not, he's the Dark Knight. It all happens at night.
I know.
It's it's not literal. It is, but it isn't. But no, his composition is dynamism, his playing with texture and depth. Again, no, he's just one of those monsters that gets better every page he draws.
Yeah. Just a couple more questions. I did. You have Batman. You have AdventureMan Family Tree, which is coming out right before this podcast goes up. You had the Minor Threat story. How do you decide which projects you want to take on at this point, in comics in particular? Is it collaborator first or is it project first?
A little bit of both. I mean, I don't like to get too far on a thing without knowing who I'm writing for.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like everybody I was supposed to work with went off and doing other jobs and became wildly successful. So like I'm sort of it's a little bit of both. It's knowing. I don't know. I don't know. Would I have said yes to Minor Threats if Mike wasn't drawing it? I don't know.
So you knew Mike was drawing before you.
It was part of the like, hey, would you do this? And Mike would draw it, and I was like, yep. Like
Yeah.
the answer is always yes to that. But if it was more of an open, probably not. But it was Mike, so I was able to. It answered some of the questions. I knew what some of the dots were, just by virtue of it being Mike and loving working with Mike. I don't know. There's just a bunch of pots on the stove, and eventually some of them start to boil. And that's the one I want to look at. That's the one I want to pay attention to because it's boiling.
Do you always kind of have comic projects in development that no one knows about?
Oh yeah. I've written so many things no one will ever read. As 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Literally 6 notebooks immediately off camera to my right, full of just pots on the stove that are boiling. Maybe one day it'll be a book. Maybe it's never going to be anything but one of my little notebooks. I don't know.
Just got to find the right person. Did you know Steve was going to be Jimmy Olsen from the start? Be Jimmy Olsen, beyond Jimmy Olsen from the start?
No. No. Which was the first time I quit the book.
How many times did you quit the book?
Twice. I was going to quit a third time, but Steve asked me not to. So I stayed. But I'm thrilled that it worked out the way it did. And that's coming out in June. There's they're doing
a hardcover collection or something.
A hardcover with a new cover that Steve has done, which you're gonna want to check out. And
God, I hope it has Dexter on it.
Genuine. I don't know that cat was Dexter.
Oh, it wasn't.
I never said it was. Never said it was.
It's got health problems then.
Yes. But it has a genuinely generously appointed bonus feature section that is a kind of grand history of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and works as a kind of behind the scenes, but also the history of the book. And like I went through and pulled a couple hundred images. Like it's gonna be great. Like it's really gonna be a rather than like, oh look, here's 3 sketches and a and an afterword or whatever. Like it's gonna be a real treat.
Do you like doing that stuff?
Because
the AdventureMan stuff is good.
Yeah, but that's more Terry. Within a limited parameter. Most of the behind the scenes stuff is just funny. Or it's just me pointing out stuff that Steve did that I loved, like I don't becoming increasingly like uncomfortable. I don't mind talking about process, but I don't necessarily want to talk about how it applies to any given specific thing that I do for fear of it. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff. It's not my place to determine what, a lot of questions I have answers for, but that's not necessarily for anyone but me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to tell anybody what to think or how to respond.
Well, I mean, are you talking about like with the book itself?
With anything.
Yeah. It's fair. Last question for you. We started this with what happened to Matt Fraction, a rather pointed and actually robust Reddit thread, I have to admit, hypothesizing on what exactly happened to you. Clearly at no point, I will say the first point was he's working on a TV show, and that seemed to address it for the most part. But it seems like no matter what you're doing, you can't help but be passionate about comics. It still seems like it's kind of the thing where your heart lies the most.
Do I look like a fucking tourist?
No. Believe me, I've looked at your books and your background quite a bit. But what gets you the most excited about comics at this point? What keeps you passionate about the medium and writing in the medium?
Some kid who has never heard of me and doesn't give a shit about Batman or sex criminals, who makes books that are absolutely unlike anything I have ever done or could do, that makes me fall in love with the medium all over again. That it's like the first time I heard the Pixies or the Velvet Underground, the first fucking Batman comic or Howard Chaykin comic or Hernandez Brothers comic that I read. The first, first time I saw David Lynch or Alphaville, whatever. Like there's someone working in this field who could not be more idiomatically distinct from me that does some piece of work that just knocks my socks off. Like that's the thing, and it never fails. It never, ever, ever fails. The stuff I read it tends to look nothing at all like the stuff I make.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like the I just got this isn't quite so extreme, but like it's just the new like Julia Fair collection, and like just that is like same planet, different worlds.
Yeah.
Like I love it. Like that's great, and I could just pour over that forever. I love Josh Simmons. Josh Simmons has made my favorite Batman comics of the last 10 years. And like there's no, like I said, same planet, different worlds. And like I fucking love it. And yeah, like I a couple times a year spend a few $100 ordering stuff from Mansion Press in Italy, and like wow. I'm wearing a Matt Brinkman shirt. Matt Brinkman. That's what makes me excited about comics is Matt Brinkman comics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I've yet to fall out of love with the medium. It is yet to become boring. It is yet to become the day that I open a fucking box of comps and see something that I've written that's been drawn and inked and colored and lettered and printed and stapled and folded and packaged and sent to me. The day that stops being exhilarating is the day I stop. And it hasn't stopped. The day I go to a comic shop and walk out empty-handed, that's the day I stop.
I'm thankful it hasn't stopped, Matt, but that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for coming on and talk about Batman, AdventureMan, Aldman, all those people. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good to see you again.